Hello and welcome to another little moment in time with little me, ZG. How is everyone doing? Hopefully everything is as alright as can possibly be. There is a lot of uncertainty and crazy stuff happening out in the world, so I wouldn't be surprised if any of you, including myself, were feeling a little bit tense or rowdy or just anxious, I suppose. So I would really like to start us all off today with a little bit of meditation, I suppose, a little bit of an unwinding technique, so we can just feel the moment a little bit better. So let's get right into it. If you want to, you can close your eyes and then let's just take a couple of deep breaths. Just inhale, hold just a little bit, then exhale. Become aware of the present moment, right here, right now. Just be in the moment and keep breathing calmly and slowly. Just let the moment be, just let it pass by. Simply surrender to the moment and let go of any tasks or annoyances. Let go of all the stress surrounding you in your life at all times. Maybe let go of the stress of the uncomfortable chair you're sitting in. Let go of all the projects and tasks that you have to have accomplished today. Let go of all the negative thoughts and feelings you might feel for the world and for yourself. Let it be. Focus on the moment. Breathe in and breathe out. Also let go of any and all pain and tension in our bodies, in our backs, in our necks, ears, eyes, head, stomachs, in our limbs. Let it just wash away with our breath. So let it go and feel calm and centered in your body in the moment. It is what it is. I am here and now, ever present and aware. Now try to become aware of all the good, littlest things in our life and in and outside in the world. Become aware that at this very moment the sun might be shining outside. There are somewhere birds chirping, children are laughing and playing. The world is at peace in a moment. Think about the fresh, clean air, a babbling brook, still waters, calm sea. That is all still available out there in the world right now. Think about all the little things that are close to you and your heart specifically. Your family, your wife or husband, maybe your children, your pets, your home. Think about all the good things that you are still able to do within your day. Think about how you look forward to a good lunch with a friend perhaps. Football match in the evening. You enjoy that. How you'll be able to relax on the bike this afternoon perhaps in the hills, or even in your workshop if you fill it with something. How much you enjoy your favorite music. Perhaps even a good wine or beer if that's your thing. Become aware of every little tiny thing that you appreciate means something to you. Feel the joy for the little things in the very moment. Now just keep that feeling in mind and let it immerse you. Let that feeling flow through your body. Immerse. Just a little bit. Focus your intention on all the good little things in your life and feel centered in the moment. I'm feeling that feeling, and then gently and slowly reground, feel your body once again, and slowly open your eyes. Now that was refreshing, wouldn't you say so? Shall we start this actual video, this actual contribution this time around? So, was that difficult for you to achieve? Was that... How do you feel? Was it difficult to achieve this state? Are you feeling calmer? I know I am. That helped me a lot to just take the moment and feel the moment. So how long did that take us right now? About like 5 or 6 minutes or so. Yeah, right. Not that much. And astonishingly, if you are feeling this sensation, if you are feeling any relaxation, this state, this moment right now is always available and everywhere to us. It's always and everywhere available, because it comes from within us. It's within us, and it does not depend on any and other outer current circumstances at all. But so we don't just necessarily, you know, float around in this state and just wind down. I want to share with you guys what it takes to reach this essential state, and how we can learn, so we can learn the background effects, the effects going on in the background of how we can achieve this moment at any time, and, you know, live more fully, calm down on a day-to-day basis and a moment-to-moment basis. So what does it take to wind down essentially what was going on in that process that we just went through in that meditative state? It was one thing in particular, and that is focus. Focus basically means concentrating our attention, concentration of attention, our conscious attention to concentrate on one thing at a time and dismiss all the noise in our head and around us, basically. Now, we as humans, humankind basically, are very complex creatures, wouldn't you agree? If we think about it just biologically, for example, essentially we are a collection of tissues and organs that work together and are connected via a bunch of threads, vessels, you might call them, even wires, wound essentially together and are wound together in a big mass that we call our brains, which then ultimately amounts to about, interesting enough, 1/40th of our body mass. So if we were to divide our body mass into 40 equal pieces, our brain is 1/40th. That's quite a lot. It's pretty big, right? It's essential. It's really, our brain is basically a heavy part of our body, essentially. So yeah, for example, like only birds have a lesser ratio, like from brain to body, which is 1/12, I suppose. But then again, we don't fly around, and we are much more we are much bigger, if nothing else. So on top of all that, on top of all those tissues and wires and everything, this entire perceptual center, or at least the vast majority of it, mainly our head, our brains, is attached essentially to this little stake, right? This pole we call the neck, and top it all off, basically we're weaving it all over the place willy-nilly, right? Because we can just look everywhere. It's very flexible, essentially. So the vast majority of our perceptual center is under stress all the time, everywhere, in every case, right? Or at least we always experience, we always feel sensations, speak like light through our sight, we feel odor through the smell, sound through hearing, and all that. So our perceptual center is always just always under stress, essentially. Then if we're still talking about humans, right, if we add to all of this things we like to call consciousness, thoughts and emotions, and we expand all of that just a little bit to like human interaction, social interaction, and the welfare of our surroundings, our environment. Where did we end up with all of that? That was quite a lot. I feel like we tend to end up like maybe in a doctor's clinic or what, or in bed, maybe a psychologist calling ourselves crazy when we encompass all of that things, right? Basically, I'd say we tend to, sad but true, we tend to end up in unpleasant places with unpleasant feelings, at least, if nothing else. But back to the starting point that enables or disables all of this, essentially for us, focus. I want to explain it a little bit better by using an already established model. You might have come across it already, that technically divides focus into 3 groups to better explain the differences, right? 3 modules, what I want to say. And these 3 modules would be, I should probably spell this out somewhere on the screen or something. This would be multitasking, unitasking, and no tasking, essentially. So what do these models basically mean? So if we start with the first one, it's actually quite simple. Multitasking is our ability to plan, to set a plan, to think a little bit into the future, organize ourselves and our tasks and our environment, our surroundings, to organize. Basically, organization. Things we would like to do or have to do in the day or the week, for example. That is our ability to multitask in general, right? Let's not go further, like time-wise. Let's not go further than days or weeks, not into months and years, and let's try to keep it brief because just trying to keep off already just the daily tasks essentially is more difficult than our complex minds, as we established, can already handle at any given moment, right? Or we can try it, like just think of this essentially, just what are all the things still that you have to do this week, by the end of the week, or by the end of the month, or by the end of the year, for example. You can go as far as that. Like, just try to think of all family relatives, members' birthdays. You have probably some deadlines in the job, some big important audits or meetings that you still have to attend, perhaps any projects. You still have to probably clean out the garage or move out some furniture somewhere in this. You probably have to help out your friend. You might have a trip or a vacation plan at a seaside or something. There's a lot of you might have children, they might have some performances at school. There's also probably some big sales going out in the world, like the November Thanksgiving sales, Black Friday sales, Christmas sales. As Christmas is fast approaching, you probably should look into some presents right now already. Case in point, by now I would assume you're already starting to feel a little bit of that tension creeping back up, right? That is the phenomenon, that is the occurrence that we often fall down to, which is trying to multitask too much at once, which leads to the opposite effect in focusing, the loss of focus, because our brains are complex and we just can't handle all of these things at once, because the mind works only right one thing at a time, essentially. But more on that in a moment. So yeah, the loss of focus, essentially, to reiterate, the main point of multitasking is that while we are still complex, very complex, we still have the capability to organize. We have a sensation of time, and we have the capability to organize our thoughts, our tasks, our daily routine, essentially, and plan things out foreseeably, essentially. A simple timetable or a schedule daily is a good practical example of how we do this on a daily basis, essentially. So that part is multitasking. Next we have unitasking, unit 1, which essentially says that, as mentioned before, with all of that perception and reception, we humans are on average most efficient, as I said, at doing one thing at a given time. So channeling our attention almost exclusively to one thing at a time. They tend to say that like women are more prone to multitasking, and to some extent it's probably very true. Although increasingly being practiced by men lately as well, especially in the modern haste and times, right? But honestly, if we focus on ourselves, how often are we able to put 100% of our attention into one single thing, really, right? You know, if we just look at a practical example, just washing the dishes by hand every day, how long does it take? How long are you actually focused on scrubbing those plates and glasses in your hands before your thoughts go somewhere of their own accord, right? Scrubbing the dishes, and before you know it's like, oh man, this is a hassle, this is annoying, I still have to do the laundry afterwards, and I still gotta mow the grass, and still gotta do the job project and whatnot, right? Or maybe if we take an example of in any company or a school, just how long does it take, like for your focus for the teacher or the manager's lecture or lecture to on average to before you start thinking, oh my god, this is boring, like I don't know what I'm doing here, I still have so many chores to do, and it's I'm also a little bit sleepy, this is really wasting my time, whatnot. These are all examples of losing focus of the one thing that is right in front of us, essentially, right? Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes just less, right? And herein lies the very greater key to efficiency and satisfaction in general in life. We are still not, as I've showcased, essentially, as I used the example before, we are not able to use 100% of our brain capacity to 100% capacity to our fullest extent, but we are very much capable of achieving this so-called absolute focus, essentially. Athletes and sportsmen often call this being in the zone, when you are really in your element. Even artists, performers, and like enthusiasts of anything really also tend to say they are in the flow. These are all common expressions of the same thing, of the absolute focus, the greatest efficiency you can do, or you can put into one thing at a time. There are probably many tons of studies out there that tell us how, when we are actually in the flow, when we are essentially in sync with life, in the flow, in harmony, we tend to feel more intensely. We are more effective in productivity, and we feel life essentially better. We are in the flow, we are enlightened, some might also say, but there are tons of other cases like out there. We are one, so to speak, essentially. But that part, the stillness within basically the one calmness, we essentially already established in another video that I will encourage you to check out. Yeah, so basically one thing at a time, and the zone, the focus, the flow, that is such an important aspect to life that we tend to overlook because of the haste and just pressure of day-to-day modern life, of trying to be and do and more of everything at the same time. It's so important basically that I named my whole brand here like moment in time. It's one moment in time at a time, right? But after all this, even though it is very important, I would like to just emphasize we have to realize that being in the flow all the time is extremely difficult and ultra rare, and only minuscule, very, very few people are actually capable of being constantly in the flow. So I'm just putting this out there that we don't have to long for it constantly. We don't have to always be in the flow. Even if we ever are, which we are, which always happens, even if we are to fall out of the flow, our plans might fall apart one way or another by our own accord, by something outside of our power. That's completely normal and healthy. That's sometimes it's actually necessary to basically end it all to hell. Just like everything went to hell, just, you know, screw it, everything went downhill, and we can't pick it up at this point. Because, you know, after it happens, we feel the prosperity and we feel the current, the flow, so much more and so much better afterward. And the end effect, the final effect, is just as great sooner or later. Doesn't really matter. The right moment is not as important. What matters is how we feel in the moment, how we focus on the moment, one thing at a time. You know, adults, or as I heard recently, like mature people call this life, basically, which means the awareness and acceptance that after every fall there's also an upswing, and then usually another fall, probably. If we were focused, it's usually just a small drop downwards, but every so often we tend to get a little bit overworked, over tasked, so we get a little hazy and lazy, and sometimes we just take a nosedive and everything just falls apart. At this point, the best we can do is the best whenever we are able to, after potentially we send it all to hell and just, you know, call it to hell. Best we can do is accept it, just accept the fact, refocus it to the best of our capabilities, and move on, keep moving on. That is the best example of life that I've heard in a long while. So yeah. Also, it should be noted that at the same time, this doesn't necessarily apply to all people and all the time. Like, some people are generally like better at multitasking, and such people make, for example, like great organizers and coordinators. But for the vast majority, for most people, it applies one thing at a time, one moment at a time. I'm so caught up in my own brand here. And then thereafter, after the productivity, after multitasking, creating our schedules and whatnot, and then tackling each task one by one, it is all followed by what it is hopefully followed by what is called what I named note tasking, which is essentially resting. In other words, just deliberately doing nothing. For genuine regeneration and refreshment of the body and mind. Of course, that is still a necessity that we need to do here. But if you look closely at this, at just rest in and of itself, there is also some degree of focus going on in the background, right? You might have heard, like, including myself, if you listen to my videos, some people have trouble turning off their thoughts. That's a common occurrence nowadays. Luckily, we have developed many relaxation techniques and like meditations, all of which involve focusing on one thing or another at the core center, right? Just rechanneling the energy to one thing specifically. Most of these, like we did in the beginning of this video, it's focused on breathing, which just breathing itself additionally lessens like the hyperactivity of the mind, and even supports blood circulation, so the body is supplied with oxygen better, right? Simple. That already in and of itself puts the spirit, our soul essentially, into the foreground, so that way we can connect to ourselves much better in the moment, as they say. So we center our physical body with the peace, the stillness within, and become in sync, become the flow, essentially. Yeah, that's the thing. Also, on that flow and the opposite effect, I have to mention as well, just a little bit of caution with forced meditations or just forced relaxation techniques. You know, like, because some people told you, or someone told you that you should try meditating or relaxing, and you force yourself essentially to do it, and you don't really feel the desire or need to do it, that causes the opposite effect, making us even more nervous and irritable, right? Along with disassembling and hating all these techniques and just, you know, cussing all over the place and it causes the opposite effect and double negative essentially. So with this, I try to say only when you do sincerely feel that you want to relax, then you should do it, not just because it is popular right now, for example. So yeah, it is just really crucial to observe and monitor yourself essentially, to be aware of to be aware of feeling our true selves within our truth, our subjective, our individual truths, both in body and in spirit, which, as I said, are core components to life as we know it. Both body and mind, we are garnering into this time period where we are aware that it's not just the body, it's not just, you know, thoughts and emotions, it's both combined essentially. But basically that's another topic for another time. The point is the point of focus, no tasking, is genuine, consistent, deep rest. Then speaking of deep, it doesn't necessarily like deep sleep. Basically, deep sleep is a great example. That's what I wanted to say on deep. When we wake up completely refreshed and full of energy and drive, and we just dive deep essentially. But it doesn't necessarily have to be just sleep or rest to rejuvenate ourselves. It can also be just like a light walk or outside in the fresh air in nature. It can also be just sitting or lounging in the garden outside in the sunlight, just sunbathing essentially. Basically something where we don't exert ourselves mentally or physically all that too much. A key word would be like to disconnect basically. When you say to disconnect, just do something that doesn't take too much energy. Just disconnect essentially. Alright, and to come to some closing thoughts here, I would like to just accompany with one more technique, one more addendum to breathing, like we did at the beginning of the video, to just calming down. Whenever you just feel the need to do these types of meditations, to focus on your breathing, you can always, in any given situation, hopefully that you are in, at your job, at home, in any situation, on the bus, everywhere, or on the maybe not in traffic, but you can always find time and space, respectively of whenever you're able to just close your eyes for a moment and just perhaps place your palm on your chest and just take a few deep breaths, just really focus just on that, just some deep breaths. Inhale and exhale, and just keep the focus going on the actual breathing itself. That way you can feel your chest expanding and contracting. You feel it even more. You are really in the zone. You can also add some affirmations, perhaps, like by just verbalizing them mentally or even out loud, saying things like, I am safe, I feel safe and confident in my own self and in my life. You can also say, I am capable, I feel capable. And you can for example, you can also say, I am grateful to myself, for myself, and everything that is good in life and in my own life. Basically, it's a simple technique that's always right here at the core, right? To summarize all of this up, my friends, essentially, with multitasking, we accumulate tons of our problems and unnecessary data that causes us a lot of stress, which we are then not able to handle at all at once by unitasking at all, and then we're not even able to no task because we have neither time nor energy, since we're still busy with handling all of the above essentially. That's basically it, right? Or in actuality, to sum it all up, just a little bit of daily or weekly organization, and then taking it one thing at a time with zest and awareness as much as possible, and thereafter some deserved rest, some pride, some compliment, gratitude, peace of mind, and genuine enjoyment, fun times. Basically what Moment in Time is about, right here, right then. Thank you very much for watching this video. It does. I do appreciate if you did, if you enjoyed it, if it resonated with you. Let me know in the comments, please. By all means, share this video with someone who might want to, or who you might think that they need to refocus, essentially. And that will just I will appreciate it genuinely. And otherwise, just let's stay connected on all the social pages, essentially. Join us on Twitch, where we do live streams sometimes. And yeah, one more time, thank you very much for watching. I wish you a pleasant rest of your day, wherever you might be around the world, and stay focused. And until next time, this has been ZG, and I hope to see you all at another moment in time.